What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Tournament Tactics. It's NFL Week 15. We got a special one for you today. We're going over specifically the Saturday-only three-game slate. Love a three-gamer. And as a special intro, we're busting out the Players Club intro for this one. Let's do this. Oh, shit. It's Chief ST, a.k.a. The Geek, and Kenyon McGee, DFS Army Players Club VIP. Motherfuckers, let's do this. Yo, me and my homies, we're tighter than a glove. We chop a lot of game, how we do it at the Players Club. Check the fool or kick it in the tub, cause we kick much ass at the Players Club. It's time to kick it with the Army crew. VIP, you know how we do. Gonna smash the cop, make them look like bitches. In our pocket, we'll possess mad riches. Winning cash is our forte. When we smash a daily fantasy, gather that cream, gonna get a tune, living that dream, drinking Blue Moon. Yo, we make lineups differentiate between cash and GPP where we correlate. Ask me about the lineup, I'll say it looks great. All about that love, I ain't trying to hate. Yo, people ask what BobbyWow would do. Fade the chalk, I unfriend you. More money for your bankroll. Stick to the script and make your pocket swole.
Since Geek's first week sneak peek lines, y'all can see where we headed. If y'all have any other DFS coaches, y'all need to dead them. Yep, this season your boys are back on the block. Helmets, casket, the top. Yeah, same old shit. Yeah, chicks love the boys in the VIP. Saying, hey, Poppy, we so B.I.G. It's Players Club, exclusive, DFS Army.
Right, that's how we do it. Motherfuckers, we out. All right, because we don't have time for a Players Club, for a three-gamer, a four-gamer. We got a Saturday slate, so it's too much DFS
everywhere, man.
So the plan this week is we're going to do Tournament Tactics. We're going to break down the three-gamer for tomorrow. Then we will do an official VIP-only Players Club for the NFL Week 15 main slate, which will be available to DFS Army VIPs. But needed to get a little taste, get a little of that flavor going. So let's get right into this one, guys. We've got a three-game slate, and it's interesting, and it's always weird. You know, one of the things I hate is weather. Weather concerns.
Because takes all the fun out of everything.
It's just mysterious. It's mysterious, Josiah. It's mysterious. The best game, supposedly, of the slate, has weather concerns. What do you do with that? We're going to have to get it figured out. That's that Buffalo-Miami game. But let's take an overview of the entire slate. I'm going to bring up the domination station, guys, and just kind of get a look at these game tiles here, and you get a sense of it. So first game up on the board, Colts at the Vikings. This one actually carries the highest team total or game total on the slate. 47.5. It's, a little bit, we've got the very low total game here. Baltimore, Cleveland, which I think is a little weird in terms of how low it is. It seems like too low.
Agreed. I like that game a lot.
Yeah. And
I'll have exposure to it.
But
both quarterbacks too.
They're warning us though. They're saying, don't play this game. It's 38-point total. Concerns. And then of course the snow game. Normally you would think a Miami at Buffalo game would be spectacular. No. By the way, and I'm going to address this question. Thank you for asking it. I don't give a shit about snow. I don't understand why people are afraid of snow. Snow is beautiful. Snow is wonderful. I've played football in the snow. It doesn't really affect very much of what you're doing at all.
Wait. Geek, you live in New York, right? You live in New York? I felt you're a little biased. I think you're a little biased.
I mean, Tua has never seen snow. He comes from Hawaii, went to California. Now he's in Miami. Bikinis all over the place. Hot chicks everywhere. That's Buffalo's a whole different story. Buffalo, you need a few extra layers on you if you live there. There's no bikinis in Buffalo. They have a 2-week window in late July into August when the bikinis come out, and that's it. And then it's done. By August 7th, it's over. Shut the pool if you're in Buffalo. Too cold. So, yeah, but it's interesting. I don't think it's a good scene for Miami, the coldness and all of that, because again, they're coming from hot weather. That's not good. But let's start with this first game because I want to go in depth a little bit, guys, here. So let's actually take a look at the defensive numbers for each game as we go through them. So Colts, where are the Colts? Colts very good against the wide receiver position, and you can see here, Colts are allowing 4.92 points below mean expectation to opposing wide receivers this season. Burns, is there a cornerback on the Colts that's elite? Why is this number? What's this number coming from?
Let me take a look. I got to pull it up. Give me a second.
Well, while you do that, but they're not as good against the run, allowing 1.5 points above mean expectation to opposing running backs. And for the rest, they're fairly neutral, including neutral against QB, which is weird in contrast to their wide receiver talents. On the flip side, Minnesota, pretty bad across the board, allowing 3 fantasy points per game above mean expectation to opposing wide receivers. Not very good against running backs. Hello, Jonathan Taylor, allowing 1.06 points above mean expectation, and also getting torched by wide receivers and tight ends.
Yep.
The Vikings are bad on defense. Oh, Gilmore, everybody got it. So Steph Gilmore.
Yeah.
So that is your guy that's going to be on Justin Jefferson, right?
Yeah, he's shadowing Jefferson, and then we got Kenny Moore in the slot against KJ Osborne, and Isaiah Rodgers going up against Adam Thielen.
And the only one of note here, though, is Stephon Gilmore, right? I mean, those other guys are not name brand cornerbacks, but Stephon Gilmore is, and he's not old and slow. That's bullshit, right? Don't buy it. But no one can stop Justin Jefferson. So, if you needed a reason, like last week, we were kind of on, when the Vikings played the Jets, we were like, hey, let's take a look at Hawkinson. Let's take a look at Adam Thielen. And Thielen had actually a really good game that week because you had Justin Jefferson covered by an elite corner. So if we needed a reason to not like have 100% Justin Jefferson on the slate, there you go. Love Jonathan Taylor. Good matchup for him. So onward to the next game. Let's take a look at the defensive statistics for game number 2. We've got Cleveland and we've got Baltimore. So Cleveland, not very good against the run, right? Allowing 5.46 points above mean expectation to the running back position. That is bad. J.K. Dobbins strong for Baltimore. That's interesting. For the most part, the rest of the Cleveland defense has been slightly above average, but I think a lot of that is due to just you just run all over them, so you don't need to throw it as much. Baltimore, pretty good against the run and weak against the wide receiver and quarterback. Okay, here we go. So Baltimore, pretty good against the run. That probably means the better way to attack them for Cleveland would be via the air. And now we're talking Amari Cooper and the people's wide receiver.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Little overview of the defenses, guys. Then we'll get into it.
Potentially Njoku too.
Oh, Njoku, I love. I actually we'll go position by position once we get this clarified. But I love Njoku. There's 2 or 3 tight ends that look good on the slate, and he is right at the top of that list.
Yeah.
All right. So game number 3. I don't know. We can almost throw away defense. It's a snowy, windy potential game, but Buffalo's defense has actually come down to earth the last few weeks. Demeric Felton. Oof, man. If that works, Eric, you will win $1 million. Buffalo defense come back to earth. They're still pretty good against tight ends, but actually now below average, allowing 1.6 points above mean expectation to opposing wide receiver. Could have been good. Could have been good for Tua. By the way, what if Tua's fine in the snow? What if everybody panics?
look at the ownerships. We'll get to it in a minute. But what if they're fine and everybody's just like, oh, they played fine. At some point, the ownership trumps like the actual matchup. Miami, very bad against QB, allowing almost 4 points above mean expectation. Getting torched by tight ends. Did not know this about Miami. So, another 3-game slate where Dawson Knox is the chalk. I hope so, but I don't think so. That would be nice. But that's not going to happen. All right, so let's now get into the actual breakdown. I started making my rules and setting up my optimizer, so don't mind the settings. Ignore the settings that you see on the screen. So, guys, I think the way to handle a 3-game slate is let's talk about each position group as a whole rather than digging into the games. And I'm not going to be the only one talking. Yeah, let's get into just position groups here because they're small. So, Burns, right here, you've got the quarterback group. Mm-hmm. Josh Allen looks to be the chalk, but just barely. And interestingly, of all of the secondary chalk plays, Kirk Cousins is showing up as the second highest owned by a mile.
Yeah. Surprising.
Yes, it is. Kirk Cousins, you know how many times he's been part of the Nuts lineup this year?
If it's one, that's a lot.
Yeah. I was like, maybe one?
It's 0.
0, yeah. That sounds more likely.
He's had, I believe, 2 trips above 25 fantasy points, and they didn't go far past 25. It was like a 26-pointer, right? So Kirk Cousins, not exactly having there's a 28er last week, and that's what's up, right? Oh, he did it last week. But for the most part, over the course of the season, there's a 20, there's 4 instances of 20, meaning there are at least 9 games or 10 where he was under 20 fantasy points, yet he's the highest owned quarterback on the slate. Weird, right? Interestingly, in terms of the defensive numbers, the Colts are actually better to attack via the run than the pass. Vikings do have some running backs that they can use. So that's weird. I had an option to play Kirk Cousins in season long this week, and I was going with Mike White.
Until today, right?
I have the same option, and I'm going with Tyler Huntley. So what does that tell me? I mean, for real, like I actually had to make this decision.
Wow. You don't like Cousins at all.
Yeah, that's a lot of hate, man.
No, I don't even know. I wasn't thinking of it in the context of this slate, but just like on my season-long team, I'm like, I don't want Cousins. I'll play Huntley. And that was a quick decision. But yet here we are looking at it. I mean, I don't know what to make of it. I'm just telling you that Huntley's 12% and Cousins is 20%. And given the choice of that decision on like a season-long team that's in the playoffs, I'd like to win that game. It didn't even occur to me. I was like, no, I'll just go with Huntley. And now I'm looking at it like, holy shit, that impromptu decision has big consequences right here on the slate.
Yeah.
So Matt Ryan, third from the top. I don't mind it. 5,200. You're saving some money. I think it's weird that Deshaun Watson and Tua are going to be super low. So just from a game theory point of view, Burns, how are we dealing with this quarterback situation? Understanding the ownerships here, there's a giant gap between the salary of Josh Allen and all the others. Do you have an approach to this? Is there a Shark Lab research that you can spit for us that can give us some clarity here?
Well, just looking back at the Thanksgiving slate from this year, I mean, you can't really go away from Josh Allen at all, even if he's going to be super chalk like he is right now, and he's probably going to be projected higher than he is right now when we hit the slate. So I would be eating that. He's played in this kind of weather before. He knows he's a running quarterback. It really is not going to phase him all that much. I mean, but with Tua, he's low owned because he's going into an environment that he's really not prototypically accustomed to, right? He plays in Miami. He's played for the University of Alabama. So prototypically the weather wise, it's not like Buffalo where it can snow 5 feet in a given night. I know this lived up there, man. It's just brutal up there. It really is.
It's a miserable place.
Yes, it is. I think the guy that, I think the two that I like the best that are the lower owned ones is going to be the Matt Ryan, and also Deshaun Watson. And I think that Deshaun Watson is going to be underowned, where this could be the game where he has a pretty good game. And when we're talking about a pretty good game, 22 will get you there.
He was running a little bit in that last game, and he looked a little better. I don't love the game total. It's so scary. But
game total is awful. And also, like you mentioned, like Watson was looking better, like from a throwing standpoint. I'm hoping like the third game, all right, the run, his legs are going to start to look a little bit better underneath him too. So yeah, I agree with Burns too. I love this Watson spot against the Ravens. I think it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah. Josiah, you're kind of the master of like pivots, right? Tournament
sometimes
leverage. You're the leverage machine.
A lot of pressure. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, my thought process is kind of like you, Geek. Right away, I was like, oh, Tua is going to be underowned. That looks awesome. That was like a spot I want to attack. And then the weather news comes in. You're like, okay, this guy has never really touched that. And then I look right beneath him for $300 cheaper. We have Deshaun Watson. And he's same ownership. Matchup is better. Why am I not going to do that? And so that's kind of how I just naturally came to Deshaun Watson. But we have the one and only GOAT, BobbyWow himself, with the turd hat on. Let him talk.
There is no punishment for showing up late, BobbyWow. Take that turd hat off.
Okay, good.
You don't get punished for showing up late.
Hey, I felt like I needed it. Okay.
The ladies call Josiah the leverage machine for different reasons.
No.
Oh gosh, here we go.
Can't with you. I can't with you.
Oh man,
I gotta wipe my eye from that one real quick. Okay, so BobbyWow, we were just talking about trying to figure out what to do with this quarterback position. Zach, you missed the showdown breakdown where I did wear my turd hat. I did accept my punishment.
He did.
So we're talking about the quarterback position this week, BobbyWow, and I've got it sorted by current projected ownership. Allen at the top makes sense for me. Totally get it. That should be the highest owned guy. But then like Kirk Cousins, the second highest, that's kind of weird. And I'm not sure how I feel about it. Then you got Matt Ryan. I mean, it's just, Watson at the bottom of the grouping here. We're trying to see, is this a spot to get leverage? I know that 3-game slates, this is all about game theory, ownership leverage. Last time we had a 3-gamer, they fucking made Devin Singletary and Dawson Knox 50% owned chalk. And those were guys you would never even dream of starting in your fantasy league. You're like, why are we making 50% owned Dawson Knox? Said would game. So I think ownership leverage is key here. Do you see anything at the quarterback position that sort of stands out to you and makes you things that make you go,
Yeah, I mean, I think the Josh Allen piece almost feels like you could go, 60 or 70% Allen and feel okay. So in terms of getting over the field leverage, I like the Josh Allen play. That's the one that screams out to me the most. I think on the other hand, like Tyler Huntley stands out to me a lot. He had a terrible game last week, but he's a guy that we've seen absolutely pop off, and he's got that rushing upside that we're always looking for on slates like this. So I think over on Josh Allen and over on Huntley would be the two that stand out to me the most.
Yeah, I love the call on Tyler Huntley. Once again, it feels a little, it's not stud off a dud, but it's like guy that could have been something that tricked everybody into thinking he's a dud, but he just got hurt. Like,
yeah,
they started out good. They were up 13-0. Had they scored the second touchdown, they were up 10-0. There was a field goal that could have been a touchdown, and then the concussion happens, and it's like the offense died after that. And then we're all like, oh, he sucks. Does he? Or maybe he just only played for a quarter and a half, put up, 6 or 7 fantasy points, and Shit happens. What are you going to do? So, yeah, I like the Huntley play. He runs with the football as well, and he's super cheap. How do you feel about Matt Ryan, BobbyWow?
I like Matt Ryan more than most, and I don't know. It's tough to get excited about him being the second or the third highest owned QB. I don't know. Like, do you guys feel excited about Matt Ryan over any of these quarterbacks?
Part of the problem with Matt Ryan is, and I think this is the big miss. I mean, the matchup is great. Indoors, you can throw on. The Vikings don't really do defense. Like, they're not into that. They're not into like playing defense, so it's fine. The Jets and Mike White just torched them, through the air. Like, it is not a difficult team to put yardage up on. But when the Colts have a healthy Jonathan Taylor, they normally lean on Jonathan Taylor. And teams with a healthy running back, like, do I think that Matt Ryan has 20-point upside, 20 plus? No, I think he does not cross the 20 in this one.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious, if there's one QB you're unchecking first, who is it?
It's not Matt Ryan. It's not him.
It's Cousins, maybe.
Yeah, for me, it's Cousins. I was like, who's going to say it first?
Yeah, I kind of want to uncheck Cousins too, because at 30% owned, I just feel like, all right, if I needed leverage, that's where I want to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
BobbyWow, I want to know who you're unchecking.
I think I might be unchecking Matt Ryan first. I don't know. Either Ryan or Cousins. I'm assuming you guys have talked about Tua, because obviously Tyreek Hill being out is a big deal. But I think the Bills get a little bit too much credit when it comes to the perception of their passing defense. They're not as good as people think they are. Does that interest you, given Tua's ownership projection and the Bills' relatively underwhelming defense against wide receivers?
Buffalo now allowing 1.6 points above mean expectation to the wide receiver position, meaning, because most of the season they were below, now they're above. That means that they've been getting torched recently. That's what that translates to. Man, if Tua could play in the cold, are we overreacting to the cold? To the whole narrative of Miami? Listen, it's fun to talk about bikinis in Florida and Miami. When you go to Miami, all you see is bikinis. You ever been to Miami? I went there. No one wears a shirt. It's the weirdest place. Everybody, at worst, there's a stomach. Even the guys. It's a weird place. I put on a half shirt too when I was down there. I was like, I gotta fit in. My fat stomach sticking out.
God,
sexy. But can you see me walking around? It's the belly out, half tube top, but no, for real. I don't know. I think, low owned Tua. Sure. Right. I think you take a shot with Tua. Tua's been great this year.
He's been great, but I feel like he's been starting to fall off a little bit here over the last few weeks. That's also kind of what's gotten me off him too. Like, if he's been in fantastic form and they've been lighting the world on fire the last few weeks, then I'd be like, hey, I don't care about the weather. I'm gonna light it up and go. But the form, the matchup, the weather, for me, it just kind of all comes together. I'm like, all right, I can pass on this one. I'll get my contrarian itch through Watson and Huntley, and I'll be okay. I'm just trying to tell myself that to help me sleep.
How many quarterbacks are you comfortable going in with, Josiah? You like to cut it down. These, there's a few different ways to handle. If I had Statsational John Alessi on here, he'd be like, I'm playing them all. He doesn't give a shit. He plays everybody, right? Yeah. That's his approach.
Well, I mean, when you say what Statsational's doing, I just want to do what he's doing. So, I mean, I guess just do that.
Yeah, he plays them all. But he also
I'll have four quarterbacks.
He'll run like 450 lineups in this contest. Like,
yeah, that's true.
But he plays them all. So how do you approach it, Josiah? Are you going into this saying, I'm going to choose my 3 and that's it?
For me, it's 4. I'll have my 4 and that's going to be it.
You will force fade 2 of these.
Yeah.
Okay. Without asking, well, which 2? And then I'll go around for the group here. Which are your 2?
Yeah, it's okay. I'll be the guy that we can all laugh at later for who we're fading. For me, it's Tua and Cousins. And so I'll have Huntley, Ryan, and then Watson and Allen are like my top 2 guys.
BobbyWow, how are you going to approach it? Do you fade quarterbacks? when you're mass entering? And if so, like, how do you have a number? How do you feel about it?
It's always dependent for me upon the ownership projection for the highest owned guy that I want to target. So because I have to get 60% of Josh Allen to be 2x the field, I will cut quarterbacks out even on a smaller slate. And for me, I think I'm probably cutting out Deshaun Watson first, and then Deshaun and Kirk, I think, would be the two I'm cutting out.
Okay. I like it. I love the bold calls. Burns, let's keep the boldness going. So are you playing all of them? Are you leaving a couple on the off your list? And if so, who?
Generally, I play more than probably most when, crafting lineups. But the one I will be cutting out first has got to be Cousins. It's an ownership thing. It's not because he sucks or anything, which he sort of does. It's an ownership thing for me. And then further on down the line, he would probably be one of the only ones I'd keep out. I have to have 45, 50% of Allen this week. I mean, it's just, that's your baseline for this guy. And then from there, you just, whatever the DS gives you in terms of ownership for him, unless you cap his ownership, just let it fly. He's going to be a good play, and then just sprinkle it in with the other guys.
Yeah. No, I like that approach. We'll get into like what kind of stacks to do in a minute, but yeah, man, I could see the Cousins fade. I could definitely see the Ryan fade if ownership is going to be that high. So I agree on loading up on Josh Allen, but I do need to get leverage at the lower price. So what interests me is the cheaper guys because they're so much cheaper. And the scenario in which Tyler Huntley or Matt Ryan work out, I'll paint it for you, right? It starts with Josh Allen not having such a good game. He puts up a 28, a high 20s number, but he costs 8,300. I don't think Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins, Deshaun Watson, or any of them have 30-point upside. I don't see Matty getting us a 30. I don't see it from Cousins. He hasn't done it all year. So at 5K though, like Tyler Huntley and Matt Ryan, which is why I don't think we leave them out. At 5K, a 22 might be enough to compete with the 28 from Josh Allen. So I need the savings. I need savings enough where Allen can still outscore them, but I can get there.
Geek, that's what's tough for me on these really small slates is it's that balance of, yes, we need to measure, these quarterbacks up against Josh Allen, given us from the salary perspective. But at the end of the day, like if we start to build lineups, does it really matter that much? Like, does it matter that a guy hits a certain number, X amount of his salary on a slate like this? I think in my opinion, we almost focus on that too much sometimes, or at least for me, I can't get that in my head right, given main slate habits. And so I guess that's part of the conversation as well. And Burns, I don't know if you had any additional thoughts on that, but I don't know. That keeps going through my head.
Yeah, I think the raw score means more on slates like this where you have 3-game slates. Your raw score means more. I know we have to hit a specific value, but raw score is huge in this slate, like especially on the quarterbacks, I believe, and potentially the running backs too. Wide receivers is going to be a little bit different. You could get more value plays out of that, but running backs and quarterbacks, we need that raw score, and we need a higher raw score, I believe.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right. So
one last thing on this topic. One thing that I like to do on short slates is trying to get leverage on the cheap quarterbacks, because I like to definitely, when there's like one really chalky guy that I like Josh Allen, I like to match the field on him and then get leverage on the other spots. That way, if those other guys, like we say, like you don't have to necessarily hit value if you're Josh Allen, but some of these other guys can still surpass their value. And so you can get leverage on those kind of spots. So it's just a different approach and different way that I like to play that we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah, it's very tricky to get real leverage on Allen because he's going to be 30, 35%. And by the way, these ownership projections, they're like for the milli maker, right? If you're in a contest that's like 150 people, the contest that we really recommend, quote unquote, a single entry contest, Josh Allen will go over 50% in that type of contest. So keep in mind the type of contest that you're in. This is greater leverage. So people ask, who's the single entry quarterback? Let me address this for a second because this question comes up all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the single entry? Last night on the showdown, I kept getting this question: who's the single entry captain? I said, I don't really know how to answer that. Like, do you want the guy who's the chalk? Everyone's playing Christian McCaffrey as captain. Okay, that's what we're doing. Single. I don't care what kind of cut. That's where people are doing. If you want to leverage against that, then luckily we loved George Kittle as one of the favorite BobbyWow's top play, and that worked out really well. But is he the single entry, or I don't know. I mean, I don't really know. It depends on your approach to the game, right? Do you want to fade the chalk in single entry? In which case, it's not Josh Allen, right? But if you want to hey, let me take the free square quarterback. It's a $100 contest and there's 50 people in it. I want to try to win it. It's a small contest. I'm probably playing Josh Allen in that one, right? But if it's a 5,000 person contest, I might be like, fuck Josh Allen. He's going to be in 4,000 lineups. Let me give it a shot with Deshaun or Huntley and see if that works out. Like Huntley runs, he could score 28 in a game. Yeah. Huntley could outscore Josh Allen on this slate. All right. With that being said, let's talk about potential ways to stack these guys. And I want to run through it real quick, but Josh Allen, stack with 2, lock it in, or with 1. I'm going to go for every guy like this. Like BobbyWow. Am I stacking with 2?
No, it's 1. It's 1 for me all day.
For Allen. How about Kirk Cousins?
For everyone, it's 1 for me, Geek.
Stacking with 1. Burns, is there anybody I need to stack? Kirk Cousins, he's not getting there with just 1, is he?
He typically doesn't get there with just 1. He typically has to have Thielen in there, or now that he's got Hawkinson.
Yeah, second.
Yeah. The other one is Matt Ryan. I think you could do 2 with him, and you could have JT in there with him. I think that could be a stack that.
I mean, it's going to happen anyway unless you prevent it.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to force the 2. I'm not limiting 2.
Yeah,
limiting to 1. I just don't want to force the 2. I think that rules you out of a lot of stuff on these 3 gamers.
We've seen games where like. I'll paint a crazy scenario because you need to hit the nuts, which is why, BobbyWow, I'm leaning towards what you're saying. In a shorter slate, we saw it. I'm going to recollect a slate where Josh Allen was the nuts. And okay, this might not have actually ever happened. But instead of Stephon Diggs being the expensive nuts wide receiver, randomly, Justin Jefferson just happened to outscore him on that slate, and he was a nuts. So if you had a Allen, Diggs, McKenzie stack, right?
McKenzie, yep.
Whatever.
Was it an iMac over Thanksgiving? That was
it was Allen and iMac. That was the stack.
And I think it actually was Justin Jefferson in that actual thing. I think that was the time
as well.
I'm literally remembering the Thanksgiving slate. So how crazy is that? Right. But if you had an Allen +2, you did not win it. You were ruled out of a win because it was Justin Jefferson who just slightly outscored Diggs, who also had a good game, but not good enough. And so in the end, maybe QB +1 across the board. And if you'll take a note of, the only one I did 2 was Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan don't get there with just 1 guy. So I did force 2 with Matt Ryan because just his style of play is just not getting there. And his wide receivers are cheaper. So I think you could do it when there's multiple wide receivers and they're cheap. Like for me, for Matt Ryan to get there, Pittman and Paris Campbell or Alec Pierce, like there's another guy involved in that probably.
And that's the thing for me too, is like another layer. I don't think on a main slate you would ever in your wildest dreams stack Jonathan Taylor with Matt Ryan. But in your stack with 2+, if you don't include Jonathan Taylor, he could be the guy that takes you there with Matt Ryan +1 wide receiver.
Right.
So like you have to just account for these scenarios where Matt Ryan throws a bunch to Pittman, but then he throws a touchdown to Jonathan Taylor, and that's actually what put him over. So that's why I'm at 1+.
That's that other scene.
It always feels so boring. Like I know on some of the other shows, people are like, "Hey, what are you doing? What are your settings?" I'm like, very few rules, just +1. And like even with my Matt Ryan lines, I have the +1 rule right now, and just naturally you're seeing some +2s happening. You're seeing Jonathan Taylor pop in there. But like BobbyWow was saying, if you create those rules, you can really just make sure those lines never happen. So I'm right there with you, BobbyWow.
100%. So you're on a 3-game slate. You don't want to rule yourself out of a win. Dial back the rules a little bit. Probably a better. Don't need to make game stacks. You could run heavy game stacks in a separate run as well. So like if somebody were the type of DFS player that likes to break up their batches, I wouldn't mind having batches with very heavily stacked games, because if a couple of games just dud out, you can kind of avoid those landmines with that approach. But I don't think it's necessary. And I think more often than not, you're going to rule yourself out of a win. Let's move on to the running back position on this slate, guys. And again, I'm sorted by ownership projections so that we can get a sense of where the chalk will be. And the top owned, but the second highest is interesting. But both of I mean, listen, there's very little evidence that 2 running backs from the same game will smash. And yet here we have Jonathan Taylor and Dalvin Cook as the 2 highest owned by far. And they're more than double the next highest owned person.
Yeah.
How can we
I think
leverage
it's
this?
All the other names are really hard to click on. Like you don't feel good picking some of these guys. You itch a little bit.
There's some leverage to be had, and Josiah, you're the leverage king.
Yeah. Well, not when it comes to this point guard, this running back position today. I'll let Burns and BobbyWow take the lead on this one, because this spot I'm still having some question marks around.
All right. So Burns, have you looked over the running back position for Saturday? How are you feeling?
Oh man, it's I'm having a tough week with this. Even on the main slate, like God, those running backs in the positions that they're in it's really gross. Like if you really look at
sneaky ones, I've got some sneaky ones for you.
I think it's Dobbins, right? Like I think it has to be Dobbins as like my leverage play. That's the thing. Like I don't want to say it. I don't feel good about it, but it's true. Like that's just the way it is. Like
here's what's
Dobbins.
Weird. J.K. Dobbins seems super obvious to me, and
yeah, watch out for Gus the Bus. Gus the Bus might be a play too. I mean,
yeah, sure, why not? I mean, here's what you do with running back on this one. Number one, and I'm going to break it down. First of all, Nick Chubb has not had good games against the Ravens. The Ravens are very good against the run. I don't think Nick Chubb is the best of plays. He's very, very expensive. Not super excited about him. Jonathan Taylor is in the smash spot of this entire slate. I don't see any. He's underpriced. They accidentally. Both of these guys are underpriced relative to what they normally do. Both Cook and Jonathan Taylor, but especially Jonathan Taylor. Like, what were they thinking? DraftKings makes it easier on 3 gamers. What you guys don't realize, they do this on purpose. They want you to have an easier time. DraftKings philosophy is that with fewer players, we make the salaries less difficult. FanDuel does not do this, by the way, which makes it extremely weird. When you have a 3 or a 2 game slate on FanDuel, you start to like, hey, who the fuck am I going to play? You start to get really weird on FanDuel because they don't do that. DraftKings does this. They like their player to be able to play Jonathan Taylor and not, they set it up on purpose this way. So Jonathan Taylor smash spot. Dalvin Cook smash spot, but probably don't smash together. Then I think what you do when running back is ugly is you limit how many of them you really have in your lineups. Play wide receivers primarily in the flex, but it's probably going to be one of these cheapies that gets you there.
I guess the question I would ask is, do we need to get really cute at running back, or can we save that for the wide receiver position on this slate?
I think you need a mix of these running back. Hang on a second. Buffalo, I just want to see the Singletary Cook split from last week. So this is an important split. 49% to 40%. So James Cook's role, a lot of people mentioning Singletary. James Cook's role has been elevating in this offense.
But at the same time, look at the actual rushing attempts and the actual target percentages too. Those have remained relatively similar for Cook.
Yeah, hasn't changed much, even as his snap count. But one would think that will eventually correct one way or the other. Like either it's going to go back to Cook, being this, secondary 20-30% guy, or they're just going to elevate, or it's just going to be week to week. Buffalo's really weird with their running back. I think you got to get a piece of, let's see, Cook is going to be 22% owned. Oh my word.
Singletary less. He's like what?
Yeah,
15%?
that's wild. That is wild. I didn't notice that.
That's a lot of ownership. That's a lot of ownership on Raheem Mostert. They don't like to run the football very much, and they're not going to have a whole lot of success probably doing it.
I like Raheem. He's one of my pay downs. I don't mind him.
Do we know for sure that Jeff Wilson is not playing?
I thought I last saw he wasn't, but I don't know for sure.
They might have to take a different approach with Tyreek Hill being out too.
Right.
So.
That was my thought.
Did you say Hill is out?
Mm-hmm.
When did that news come out?
Oh, you know what? Wilson practiced for the first time yesterday, so he might play. Hill's out for. I thought he was out.
Yeah, I didn't hear that. Like I didn't hear that.
Yeah, Hill is not out. I have not heard this.
Yeah,
Waddle had the Q tag.
Which is interesting because Tyreek Hill is the only guy who, he played in Kansas City, so he's at least used to the snow a little bit, which is nice.
He's used to the cold too.
Hold on, I have not heard that, so that is not confirmed information.
Oh, that bumps my Tua love even more then. There we go.
Wait, explain what just happened here. Hold on a second, because you guys just lost me.
We were under the impression that Hill was out.
Tyreek Hill was out?
Yes.
Where did you get this impression?
He is not out. Tyreek Hill is not out.
Yeah, wait, where did you get that impression from though, Burns? Where did that come from?
No, that wasn't Burns. That was me.
Oh, where did you? Oh, you just were confused. Yeah, okay. Tyreek Hill's not out. Waddle had a Q tag, but he's fine. Like he doesn't even have. He's no designation. But Waddle has been playing poorly the last few weeks. A lot of people think because of the hip issue, but again, ignore. He's got no Q tag on him. Nothing. So ignore all of that. Just to be clear, yeah, those guys are playing.
Well, that takes the running game. It knocks down the running game.
Yeah, they're not gonna. They don't run the football. In the
Wilson practice, so even worse.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I heard that Wilson might play, and that makes Mostert definitely less good. Even when Wilson doesn't play, they don't run it that much. But when he does, it's a bad scene, and they're underdogs. There's so many reasons why I don't like it. I think Dobbins.
People are just thinking like, oh, it's going to be snowing, and so they're going to have to run, and that's why people are going towards Mostert. I think that's the argument. But I agree with you guys. Like the Dolphins throw the ball even when it doesn't make sense to throw the ball. So I don't know why they're going to start running now.
Another guy, Kareem Hunt hasn't had a good game all year. I get he's 4,300 now. He's so cheap that maybe that's your second piece, but I do not think you want to be loading up on running back. The way the slate works out for me, I'm probably going to, so somebody just asked about the flex spots here. And, I will be limiting. I already kind of did this in my initial run. I had running back limited to 30%. I'm probably going to take this lower. I'm liking the RB position less and less. And by the way, unless you keep that really low, you wind up with just a ton of Taylor and Dalvin, like too much of those two guys. So I'm going to really limit my running back in the flex on DraftKings. I think the play is just to drop to allow tight ends and wide receivers in there. That for me is going to be my approach at running back. I think as we look at the running back position, Taylor is great. Dalvin Cook hasn't really. He's cheap enough now that I think it's actually fine. He's finally at that point at $7K. All season I've been yelling about Dalvin Cook. He does not belong in the mid sevens. He probably doesn't belong at 8K. He's just not that guy. And now he's getting to the area. He probably should even come down a little bit more. Fair market value for him is probably 6,500. But whatevs. Nick Chubb, playable, I guess. He could smash in 2 touchdowns in this game with only putting up 40 yards, and it was Chubb. So you got to get a little bit.
I hate to beat the dead horse, but like how many of these guys, even if Chubb scores like 15 points, 16 points, how many of these guys below him are you thinking can do that? Is Gus Edwards going to put up 15 points? It doesn't take that much for Chubb to make that happen.
Yeah, but you got to pay for it. Like, I'll take 12 out of J.K. Dobbins for $5K, spend the extra $2,000 to move up from, wide receiver Turdley to, Michael Pittman. You know what I'm saying? Like, that difference pays Alec Pierce to Michael Pittman. That's a big difference. That's a big upgrade at a different spot. So, it's all relative. Chubb, even though you're right, there are very few running backs, BobbyWow, I would say Chubb still needs to put up 20 to be relevant. If he gets you 14, I don't think that's enough at 7K because now you spent that money on him. Let's talk about the wide receivers. Once again, sorted by ownership projection. I think this is a good way to do it. I just sort by ownership projection so we could see where the leverage spots are towards the bottom of the list, right? Devin Duvernay, low owned. Trent Sherfield. Waddle, very low owned. It's a good player. Donovan Peoples-Jones, very low owned.
Yeah. That's a good one right there. I like DPJ. I like Amari Cooper too.
Yeah. Get him for low owner. What? I don't like? This motherfucker. Like, he's going to be 50%? I don't need KJ Osborne. Tyreek Hill going to be low owned? How about the leverage? Now, I don't love Tyreek Hill in the spot, but him and Justin Jefferson on the season, Tyreek Hill's been right up there with Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Different conditions, different defense, but a little leverage, maybe. Stephon Diggs.
Amari Cooper.
Yeah, no, I love these guys down here. Cooper, DPJ, and I think the wide receivers from Baltimore. I mean, I smashed a door on Demarcus Robinson. I needed to manually up the ante on Devin Duvernay to get him in any kind of lineups, but I like him. These are guys who got 7, 8, 9 targets in Huntley's first game before he got hurt. So starting at the top here, guys. And BobbyWow, I'll go with you. We talked about Stephon Gilmore on Justin Jefferson. He's going to be the highest owned, 50%. How do you feel philosophically when you're mass entering? How do you feel philosophically about a guy who's 50% owned?
It's hard for me to imagine he'll end up at 50% owned, but I could be wrong.
You think
I don't know.
Not that high?
Every time, I don't think it'll be that high. Every time I feel like Justin Jefferson is the absolute right fade, he goes bonkers again. So to me, that's probably another spot I'm going to try to be overweight on, maybe approaching 75% or so Justin Jefferson exposure. I think he ends up around 35 to 40% would be my guess because of that red number, because of the matchup, because of the price tag.
Quick question.
It's hard. It's hard to see him failing. Yeah, Josiah.
By what? So I just want to understand your philosophy a little bit. So if Justin Jefferson, I get it because I do feel the same way. Like every time people are saying bad stuff about him, that's when he goes off. But then Michael Pittman Jr. is the other piece of chalk we have because he's way too cheap. So are you thinking are you going to pick one or the other, or would you be open to attacking both?
I'm open to attacking both. There's a couple spots on these 3 gamers that I picked to get extra cute in. Mm-hmm. So I'm not worried about necessarily getting leverage on all of the huge chalk by going underweight. Yeah. I'd rather pick a few spots and identify spots that I want to get cute in. Like, for example, this isn't one for me, but Alexander Madison, playing him, in 20% of the lineups and chopping Dalvin Cook exposure. But just to make the point, I just don't think Justin Jefferson is the spot to get a ton of leverage. There's too many other opportunities. That's just the way I look at it.
I definitely would not be going over 50% on any wide receiver. And that if any wide, I don't care who it is, any wide receiver that's 50% owned, you probably want to go a little below the field on that person. And again, it's irrelevant to who it is, but especially the most expensive wide receiver on the slate.
And I think that's how everyone's going to think. And the issue for me, again, main slate, I'm with you 1,000%. Because it's a 3-game slate, it changes the perspective for me. So, but I'm glad we have different perspectives. That's really good.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, I think, like I said, now the difference with Pittman is Pittman is like just massively underpriced.
Yeah.
Great situation. You know, quarterback should be able to get the football to him. You can leverage Pittman very beautifully with Paris Campbell and Alec Pierce. But he's in a good spot. But you know, this guy is, you know, he disappoints at times. So he's going to be a 50% owned guy who's really not like, you know, it was a couple of weeks ago I was arguing with BobbyWow that Paris Campbell was just as good as Michael Pittman.
I remember that.
I still think it.
That was on here.
Like, they're the same guy.
I still think it. You know who's going to win you the tournament this week, right? It's Paris
That
Campbell.
doesn't make him better. That doesn't make him better, but that may be true.
He's winning it. He's gonna help me win it.
Sun shines twice.
It happens. Accidents happen. So Adam Thielen 35%. I mean, what the fuck is going on with Cousins? Adam Thielen's 35% owned. This guy who's had like 2 good games. So I think you do want to get leverage against some of these spots up top here. And so let's go. You know, you're talking about leverage spots. Gabriel Davis 25%. I'm under. Whew. Paris Campbell's fine. McKenzie 21. Man, he won that last tournament, right? McKenzie. I was under on McKenzie. That didn't work out for me. That was the killer blow. Now everybody's going to play McKenzie, you know, like, but he hasn't done shit.
I'm
so
desperate
now it's going to be Diggs.
Thoughts on Jefferson.
Now it's going to be a Diggs. It's going to be a Diggs week. You know, that's just how it works in Buffalo, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, McKenzie, let's just, what has he been doing? 5 targets. He had 1 game and it happened to be national.
He's got a flair for the 3-gamers, Geek.
He does. He really does. He loves the playoffs, the short slates every time, man.
Man, you know, I'm not doing that. You know, you want to talk about something I don't want to chase. I don't want to chase McKenzie's 1 big game in the identical situation to this one. You know, there are some situations where I want to let burn me. That's like, I feel like that's one I want to let burn me. I'm going to have so much Josh Allen, though. Like, you have to have some of it. But, like, I almost want to let that spot burn me. What's
everybody got
John
burned
Brown?
with Knox.
John Brown is John Brown's in the NFL now?
Still.
The sheriff.
The sheriff is in the National Football League. What he's had 1 target all year, bro.
Yeah, why not Shakir?
Tupac.
I'd rather go Deshaun Jackson over John Brown.
Yeah, I'm not going John Brown. Fuck the sheriff.
At least D-Jax is seeing targets.
He showed up at my house trying to shoot me down. Hell no.
Everybody got burnt by Knox. So,
yeah,
you know, they got burnt by Knox. They got burnt by Diggs on Thanksgiving, right? Man, that's where it's going to be this week. It's not, you know, it's not iMac. It's Diggs and Knox. That's where it'll be.
Here's my prediction, guys. Let me make it very, very simple. See this zone under 20% owned here? At least 2 of these guys in the winning lineup. They're coming from the 20% zone, the sub 20%. People Jones, Jalen Waddle, 10% owned. Devin Duvernay. No one wants to play Devin Duvernay, right? Mm-hmm. This guy got 10 targets from Huntley 2 weeks ago. DeMarcus Robinson, the People's wide receiver, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Amari Cooper, are you kidding me? Is Amari Cooper? Let me. All right, let's try an exercise here in game theory for everybody that watched my advanced game theory video. Leveraging ownership in tournaments. Amari Cooper is 6,100 this week. His mean projection, and forget that, is 12.4 fantasy points. Okay. But his ceiling is as high as any ceiling of any wide receiver on the slate. At the same price point, you can get Michael Pittman, mean projection higher, significantly higher, but with a similar ceiling but at 50% owned. So I can get 15% owned Amari Cooper or 50% owned Michael Pittman, identical ceilings, with Cooper coming in with a perceived smaller floor because of the quarterback situation or whatever. I don't actually think the floor is that different. So what's the correct move? I mean, obviously, even if Michael Pittman, he does have a much higher base projection and all of that, the right move in tournaments is to have leverage on Amari Cooper, because of Amari Cooper, basically on this slate, if you play Michael Pittman and he goes off and he goes crazy, but he's 50% owned, you know what your lineups are doing? Nothing. They're all like he's scoring. You're not even moving up. You're like, wow, I thought I have 50% Michael Pittman. He just scored a touchdown. I didn't even move up. Like all my lineups look the same because you have no leverage. But if you load it up on Cooper and he puts up a touch, he gets a 28, which would any of you guys be shocked if Amari Cooper puts up 28 fantasy points tomorrow?
Nope.
No.
Not at all. As a matter of fact, would you even raise an eyebrow? You'd be like, yeah, okay, yeah, right? Oh, okay. I've been watching too much Sebastian Maniscalco. I have all of his jokes just keep flowing out of me. Oh, okay, it's a sea bass, but he's got a new Netflix thing. But you got all the leverage on Amari Cooper. To me, that's like the ultimate. That's an easy. Josiah, you should be saying this. It's the perfect leverage play.
I mean, honestly, like no lie, like the two guys I actually have pure leverage on from the wide receiver position are Amari Cooper and DPJ. Like those are the only two that I have as of right now. And I'll have more later, but those are like the two that I made right away.
The other day, I was reading your leverage column for NBA. It was like, load up on James Harden. No one's playing him. The dude went off for like 80 points or something nuts. I had such a good day. Like,
I'm glad it worked out.
That's all I go to. I go to the leverage column. Yeah, Peoples Jones. How about Jalen Waddle? 7K, a little expensive, but unowned. Duvernay and DeMarcus Robinson, but especially Duvernay, you get him at 3% ownership. If we go back to the last contest like this, it was these low-owned wide receivers that were everywhere in the nuts lineup. Josiah looks totally different.
Where did that come from?
Than when he's on camera, by the way. Total different look.
Where did that one come from? That picture.
All right. Burns, any final thoughts to the wide receiver position here for this 3-gamer?
Up top, for me, it's JJ. At the ownership level, you might just have to eat at least 50% of it. But I also like the pivot down to Tyreek. I think he's got game slate breaking potential. I also like Diggs in that game too. So the ownership will be there. And everybody will be thinking, JJ is the top play, so I got to get a lot of them. And that's why you're going to see a lot of ownership disparity across the board on the top guys. So you're going to see your nice.
I want to match the hat. I saw Brutus had a comment in there. I was like, I have a hat. It does mess up the hair though.
He wants to get the Josh Allen giant hat.
Yes.
Exactly.
Somebody's like, no, you can't. I would love to get everybody those giant hats, but then it might be cheesy. No,
but Amari Cooper he's an amazing pivot at that low ownership of 15%. I think that's just a good start to your
direct pivot off the Pittman chalk. I think right there. And again, go back and look at the last slate. Last time I actually nailed it when I said I thought it was going to be double tight end in the nuts. And it was, but it wasn't the guys we thought it was going to be. It was, surprising tight end. So,
well, I knew Henry was going to go off. It was just a given. I mean, you play Minnesota. You just knew it was going to happen.
Well, we've got a team playing Minnesota, but they're
one final punt real quick for wide receivers.
Okay.
Don't uncheck Trent Sherfield. Don't uncheck Trent Sherfield. Buffalo Bills have a couple tough defenders in the secondary. I think the Dolphins might have to go down to their third option more than usual, and he's getting 4 or 5 targets a game. So he's probably my favorite punt, I think, below 3,500 at this point.
If Sherfield does this or this, he has those 2 games. If he gets the 14, the 16, he's in the nuts. That's all it's going to take. So at 3,500, that's literally all it would take for him to get us there. All right, let's talk about the tight end position here. And I think there are more relevant tight ends on this slate even than maybe we had on the last one. But again, sorted by ownership, everybody loading up on Hawkinson. And I mean, it's a theme here. Everybody's just loading up apparently on Vikings. The Vikings. Okay. Imagine the Vikings just have a shitty game and they put up like 3.
It could happen.
They're up against a good defense.
I'd be so happy.
And 50% owned Jefferson, 50% owned Hawkinson, 35% owned KJ fucking Osborne. What? And Thielen. What a weird one. Hawkinson. Is there any reason to say tight ends do well against the Colts? I mean, what is our... Let me go back to this here. Colts. Nope. No, nothing special. Average matchup. David Njoku, I love. 26%. Njoku's probably going to be my favorite tight end on the slate, guys. I like the price. I like to pay down at tight end. Mark Andrews, great. Also, Mark Andrews burned every. Look at the price.
I love Andrews.
I'm dying on his ship. I will die on the ship of Mark Andrews, and I'll ride it off to the end of the season.
I love Mark Andrews this week.
I love him. I'm with you, Burnsy.
Cleveland is perceived to be really good against tight ends, and I think with him being the shallow dump down, I think it's just perfect for them. And
could be double tight end again with Andrews and Njoku.
I think it would be double tight end with a couple of combinations.
Yeah, Knox too. I know some of us don't like Knox very much, but I was on the same thought process as Burns. It was like, okay, everyone hates Knox and Diggs now, so I want to make sure I'm at least playing Knox and Diggs. So I love the guys you guys have mentioned too, but for me, it's Knox and Njoku, my main 2.
I mean, listen, even just looking at it right now in front of my eyes, I'm going to say there are more tight end options. And of course, Johnny Stud Munt in the list as well. But right up at the top, again, I'm going to go back to my matchup sheet because there is a team, not matchups, this one. I'm pretty sure that the Vikings, Miami, very bad against tight end. There's your Knox play. Vikings not very good against the tight end position either, which opens things up potentially for like a Jelani Woods, like the surprise tight end that no one was thinking about. Who are the other ones? I thought I saw
Mo Alley Cox and Granson.
I
that are on Indianapolis.
I don't want Mo Alley Cox.
Those are the 3.
Yeah, they got too many tight ends on that fucking team, to be honest. But Kyle Granson is going to be 15% owned and Jelani Woods 15%. Let me see something here. So let me just see if we can't figure out.
It's Granson. Granson's been the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Granson 56%. But it doesn't make sense that they're both going to be high on. So they're both getting targets. They're both on the field. But yeah, Granson way more the starting tight end with Jelani just kind of being worked in more in a pass catching role. Okay. I would avoid the pairing, though, in any one lineup. I think Mark Andrews is the best play. I mean, I know he's hurt people. I know he's hurt our feelings. But 5,700?
Look at the wide receivers below him. Look at the wide receivers below. I mean, oh, my Lord.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you start to look at...
Who would you rather have? Here's a great
There's a couple
decision maker. Who would you rather have, Pittman or Andrews? And they're essentially the same price.
Pretty big dead zone.
Andrews even cheaper. So really, Thielen. Would you rather have Thielen or Andrews?
I mean, it's crazy.
Look at the dead zone here, guys. This is it's a quirk of building. If you've been hand building on DraftKings, you hit a dead zone at 5,800. That's another reason why Pittman is going to be so high owned. Because once you hit the Pittman 5,800 or Andrews 57. Now you're in a dead zone. Like Singletary, Huntley, QB doesn't count. Raheem Mostert, Matt Ryan, J.K. Dobbins. Again, when's the next wide receiver? 5,200 in a horrible matchup, Adam Thielen. So like at 58 to 52, there's like a $700 dead zone. And you know, when you're building lineups, trying to spend every penny. You're like, oh man, I'm falling in the dead zone. And then you either fall on one of the underside of the dead zone or the top side of the dead zone, like every time. You're like, oh shit, I got to get here. So do I like Pittman or Andrews more? I think I like Pittman more on the surface, but Andrews is 23% owned and a tight end. Pittman's going to be 50% owned, so I'm going to lean lower ownership in that selection every time.
Yeah, but the DVOAers are going to go with Pittman every day of the week versus Andrews.
Oh, of course. Yeah, if you're just looking at the matchup, it's Pittman. If you're looking at the game total, it's Pittman. There's a reason why these guys are owned where they are. The matchup does dictate the projected ownership, and it's usually pretty close to spot on. But that doesn't help you win a tournament. Again, If I've got a coin weighted 50-50, and we're splitting the pot, but 75% of the people pick heads, and only 25% of the people pick tails, over time, the EV move is to take tails every single time, even though it's 50-50. Even if the coin is weighted to hit heads 60% of the time, you should still be taking tails because the ownership leverage will pay over time. So, you know, the poker guys, they don't care. They know that rule and they live by it. The sports bettors know that and they live by it. They don't care. I have a 10% edge. I'm playing the edge. And if I do this 1,000 times, it's going to work out. I don't care what happens now. Just better be right about your edge if you're right about it. Speaking of the sports bettors, do you guys know I'm doing a bankroll building challenge over at Sharp App?
Yeah, I watched your video. It's pretty good.
I'm excited.
So far, so good.
So far.
It's going to go one of two ways. And this is here on the DFS Army channel. So if you guys are watching the channel, you should be subscribed and all that so that you get notified when these videos come out. But I got to do one a little later. But what I'm doing is just trying to see if I can take $1,000 bankroll and take it to $5,000. And I'm just going to play my plays. I track all of these in the Sharp app as well. So they're always in there. These are tracked plays, but I'll put these little videos out. So it's day 3. I'm 7-3 so far. Not bad. Seattle burned us last night, but, you know, man, I'd go back to that play again. I think it was the right side. It just, you know, it's a fumble. 49 is just better at quarterback than we kind of maybe thought. But we're at 1390, 1395. 40%.
Looking good.
Nice.
Next week when I show you that, it could be at 0. The challenge didn't go well. I got to 0. The idea is, can I get to 5K before it goes to 0? We'll see. Anyway, where are we?
Oh man,
could go to 0.
I hope you got my baby Bulls tonight in the NBA. That's your next step up the ladder there.
I think I do have I might have a play for tonight, but it's not that one. It's no Bulls. You got to play on the Bulls? You're telling me I should play the Bulls? Because
I'm telling you should play the Bulls -2.5. But anyways,
I put you in the notes section on the bankroll challenge. BobbyWow play.
Get me in the notes, baby. Let's go.
I'll put you right in the notes.
1-0.
That's confidence right there. He's doubling down.
Well, now I got to see what that game is. But all right, let's talk defense real quick. One of the tricks for the domination station, guys, when you are optimizing, make sure on a 3-game slate, I allow at least one player versus the defense. 2 games, it's much more important. If you ever optimize for a 2-game slate, you must allow multiple players against your defense. 3-gamer, maybe. I do allow one player versus defense because it gets weird. The lineups look really weird when you don't do that. And defense is not so directly correlated against your offense to where it matters. Like, you should allow 1 or 2.
You're only allowing 1.
I'm allowing 1 right now because I haven't studied the defense close enough to make a decision if I want to allow 2.
Fair.
Catch me outside. That's what I'm doing. I might allow.
I typically allow 2.
Yeah, I might allow 2 in the end. I just have it at least 1. So just going through these defenses, none of them are great. I think who would be your top play, Burns, on defense? I mean, aside from, of course, the Bills, very obvious. They're not that expensive, the Bills. They're cheap. They kind of stand out as the best play.
Yeah, obviously the Bills. I mean, they're probably going to be everybody's favorite play. Significantly low owned play that could actually really do well this week is the Colts.
Yes.
I really like the Colts this week. I think they can actually shut down Cook, and they could actually shut down the passing game work of Hawkinson and Thielen this week. And, you're not going to shut down JJ. You're going to limit him, but you're not going to shut him down completely. So I think they can still have a great score, and great score on a 3-gamer is 6-7+ points. So
you just got me thinking. Has nobody else realized that this is Kirk Cousins in prime time?
Is it prime time if they're playing at 1?
I say yes, because they're the only team playing at that time.
I mean,
it's more about the attention. Cousins in heavy attention.
Didn't Cousins play really well on Thanksgiving? Have we
squashed
this rumor yet?
He did.
Yeah,
this theory.
I know it's a bullshit.
He did.
I know it's just silly.
He got what, 28? Was it 28 or 26?
Yeah,
it was something like that.
Is that
26
this is
on
why
a massive turkey leg?
No, he didn't put up 20. He got a 22 on
No,
Dallas. Which was the Thanksgiving game?
It was not Dallas. It was New England.
Yeah, I think it was that New England game.
Okay, 22.
22. What? Who?
Not nuts.
No, it was Mac Jones that got the 26.
Yeah, it was Mac Jones.
He did good enough. Kangs is not like anybody messing with anything Minnesota. Yeah.
Which, by the way, DFS up north is snowed in, which is why he couldn't get here.
Oh, really?
Man.
He said they got 20 inches of snow or something over the last couple days. Crazy.
That's freaking nuts. But he's at the way top of the state, isn't he, too?
Yeah, he's up there.
He's up north. DFS up north is so far north. When he wants to go ice skating, he just goes to the backyard with a hose, sprays it, and 5 minutes later, he's got a skating rink back there. And I'm not even joking. That's how he does it. I'm like, what? You just spray water in your backyard and it turns into an ice skating rink? He's like, that's how we all do it. It's like, oh. That's not how we do it over here. Bills defense, really good. Browns, Baltimore, rookie, neophyte. I mean, what else are we doing here on defense, Burns? You gave us the Colts, which I think is super sneaky. Apparently, they're going to be 0 owned according to this wonderful ownership projection.
They're not going to be that, but
I don't think they're going 0.
They're going to be they'll probably be one of the lowest owned, especially since the projections of our ownership for Minnesota offensive players is going to be so high. I love that you can actually cut that ownership with a defense. It's just great when you see that high of owned plays and you just put the defense up against them. And then all of a sudden the defense scores like 13 or 14 points and they're about 5-10% owned, and you're basically like, you got your nut play right there. So
it's like double leverage too, because apparently everybody's loading up on Minnesota in this game, which means if you have Colts defense, and let's say you have this setting of max 1, it means you're not going to get a ton of Vikings players in that lineup. So it's the perfect leverage off of all of the Vikings chalk on the slate.
Absolutely.
So I love it for that reason. Like, you almost have to force at least 20% Colts just for that reason alone, because the Vikings offense is so chalky. But where else are we going? I think Bills, definitely.
Bills, yeah. I mean, you could go if you got to have a couple of shares of Miami too. They're going to be low owned. You just need those shares because you never know what a defense is going to do. The ball's going to go a certain way. It could be their lucky day, right? Josh Allen. Everybody's like, yeah, I got to have 60% of Josh Allen. Well, what happens if Josh Allen throws 2 picks and one of those 2 picks is housed, 6-point house, right? There's your nut play right there. I mean, you got to have Miami. I would have ownership in all these defenses.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's just the way you got to go about it and have, I would have probably 10, 15% of, the lowest owned and then go up from there.
Yeah, I think Colts, Dolphins will be the lowest. So I don't know how much Dolphins I feel like I'm going to want. But I think Colts are going to be just as low owned, and I love that spot. I think you can, the flip side for me is Vikings defense. I don't really want very much of that at all. Although they're going to be super low owned, so fine. What about Vikings at 5%, Burns?
I don't really like the Vikings simply because they have a very poor secondary. Like their secondary isn't a great interception secondary. We see it with that really low negative score on their wide receivers, right? And then, in the quarterback. So they're really a secondary that you shouldn't be targeting. I'm probably going to be field weight, if not a little bit higher, but not much, and then I'll have more ownership than everyone else.
I can't believe Bills are only 2,700. It's just too cheap for that spot and the snow. Josiah, is it just a load up on the Bills situation here?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I have a lot of, but like Burns said, I have exposure to every single defense as of right now, but I have some slight leverage on the Bills, and then I have the Dolphins, Colts, and Vikings in that last spot, and then a little bit of Browns and Ravens.
Raise up that Colts a little bit. I really like that play. It's so sneaky. It makes so much leverage sense. BobbyWow, anything to add on the defense side?
Nope. I'm with Burns. Love the Colts, and I'll have exposure to all of them except Minnesota.
All right. I'm going to start with you, BobbyWow, so be prepared. So we've kind of broken down this entire slate. So who is your sneaky upside play of this slate? You're going to go over. You're going to leverage over the field. This is going to be where you get your leverage, right? This is somebody you like that the field doesn't maybe like nearly as much. I'm going to go first.
Go. That sounds good.
I was about to say, I was like, how does Bobby have a hint? Like, how can he prepare? He doesn't know what the question is yet.
I will go first. I think we talked about it, and I'll go right back to it. I think Amari Cooper, the perfect leverage off of the chalky Michael Pittman scenario. So that doesn't mean I won't play Pittman. I'm fine with Pittman too, but I like Amari. I think Watson looked a little bit better last week, and I think each passing week, a little more rust gets knocked off. All right, BobbyWow, what's your sneaky spot?
I'm probably going to say, I know Mark Andrews doesn't really count as sneaky, I guess. He's 20% on. I think if ownership stays where it is, I think J.K. Dobbins might be the sneakiest play on the slate.
I cannot believe that it will stay where it is. If it is, that's crazy.
Yeah.
If he's under 20%, I think that was the sneaky play for me. He's at 13 right now.
I really like that. Josiah.
Yeah, my leverage plays are kind of like you, Geek, the Browns, like Watson leverage, Cooper leverage, DPJ, Njoku. Those are my guys.
Love it. Yeah, I like all those guys too. And Burns, how about you?
I think my leverage plays would probably be I would go with Waddle and Tyreek at low ownership. And I would really try to get them stacked, the two of them together with Tua.
There it is. Little Tua with Tua on a slate where no one's going to play Tua with Tua. Here's an advanced preview of Tua on Saturday. The jacket thingy over, shivering. I'm used to the cold. Cold up here. Tua after the game, he walks up to Josh Allen. He's like, "Bro, you live here? You fucking crazy?"
Did you see some of the images of Josh Allen shoveling himself out of his place in Buffalo?
No,
dude, he's like living the dream up there, man. He had like a t-shirt on and shit.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit.
But he's from Wyoming, so it's kind of like, yeah, Wyoming. I get like 10 feet of snow anyway. So what
people from cold places are just different.
It was funny. And then you see this big ass freaking John Deere backhoe going through and plowing out the snow and shit. It was pretty comical.
And but the best though is in his t-shirt. Like, of course,
Yeah.
Josh Allen's outside in his fucking t-shirt. Tua's like, there was a joke somebody threw in here, that Tua needed the heater in LA last week. Like, he was cold. It's cold here.
I believe that though. That sounds like something that would happen to.
Yeah. I don't know if that happens. Anyway, guys, let's wrap it up there. That's a lot of time to spend on a 3-game slate. Some people did ask. I believe I will pop in tonight into DFS Army Discord. It's going to be late because I have a radio thing at like 10:30. So I don't know before or after, but at some point maybe I'll do a little half-hour Dom Station setup. I feel like it's a simple setup this week, but people love the setup stream. So I'll probably pop in for DFS Army VIPs and do a little Dom Station optimizer setup stream, kind of show direction without necessarily showing like exact what to do. I want everybody to bring their own flavor to a 3-gamer. And the plan is tomorrow during the games, unfortunately, there's no other time. I hate it. But during the games, we're going to have a Players Club VIP breakdown of the 10-game Sunday slate. I still have a lot of adjustments to make to my sheet. It's not the easiest thing to be fucking with your sheet when you're paying attention to Saturday. That's Sunday. It's Mike White out. My whole plans, mice and men sometimes go astray.
Yeah.
Best laid plans. Like that? It's fucking literature, bitch. Best laid plans of mice and men.
What time are you thinking of rolling out the PC then?
Probably during after one of the games starts, so probably 1:30 it'll be about that time. Unfortunately, that is which first game. Yeah, that's that Vikings game that I really want to watch. But nonetheless, we're gonna knock it out because that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna drink some Blue Moons. We're gonna make some lineup. We're gonna do the whole thing. Main slate is critical. Tomorrow's slate will be done with it. We'll be done. And for DFS Army members, VIPs, DFS up north, Josh, who did not make it today, snowed in. But he created full blast showdown cheat sheets for all 3 of these. He's only supposed to do one. He did all 3. He's like, I can't do just one. It's like eating Pringles. He's like, you can't. I just had to do all 3. So we got cheat sheets for all 3 of these slates. Good times. So if you're playing the showdowns, check those out as well. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, notification bell, all that good shit. If you want to see the series I'm doing on sports betting where I'm turning 1,000 into 5,000. And what we're going to do when we hit 5,000, we're going to take money out. We'll start it again. Go back to 1,000. That's how you make money. Right? Do we raise our bankroll? Do we raise our unit size? No, we just do it again. Want to do that? Make sure you've hit the notification bell. You can follow along and watch me crash and burn. This shit, listen, you give out picks beforehand and then they go bad. There's no going back. You can't delete that video. It came out already. There's no going back. It's dangerous. I'm willing to take it on. Kevin Danger. That's what they call me. All right, boys. Tri-Goat community. If anybody out there knows how to do graphics, I would like 3 goat bodies with the heads of Burns, BobbyWow, and Josiah on it. Just like that. And then
gotta add you on there too, man.
If you want to put me in there too, I'm just here to host.
Geek's the goat shepherd.
I'm just the shepherd here to host and get the best out of you guys. But if anybody can create that graphic, I will put it on the top of this show. It'll be on display. I have no artistic skills, though. My artistry is at a 0. All right. That's going to do it. I will see you guys next time. Thank you all. And we'll see you at the top of the leaderboards. Let's take this one down. Deuces, everyone.